It's May 4th, and Krista's not here because May the 4th be with you.
I was hoping there was the tiniest chance
No.
you wouldn't do it again.
No. I was looking forward to news being on the 4th Tuesday since last year because it was off by one day last year, and it was like,
But you did it anyway.
yeah.
I have to apologize. I was not able to source any more Diet Orange soda.
Oh, that's fine.
It's just not there. It's gone.
I was I did have the opportunity to get some orange soda at not the local cheap place, but like the other place, and I forgot. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll come back and get one of those because it wasn't like a convenient carry thing. And I was like, I'll get all my other stuff and then I'll come back for that last, and I forgot.
The kind you want?
Yeah.
You're saying?
No. It wasn't Diet Orange Crush. It was another kind of orange soda that I was going to try.
I found Diet Fanta in the 2-liter. But I was like, I'll find a smaller one somewhere. I went to a gas station. They got Diet Orange nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It can't be the aluminum. It's got to be some chemical that they're using.
I'm pretty sure that it was probably just some kind of industrial waste that doesn't kill you. And they were like, well, we could sell this as a soda and get rid of the waste that way.
Like the fluoride.
I mean, fluoride's basically industrial waste. Oh, I've got more good news this week. It's a new month. That means we've got a new sponsor. Linode is back.
Oh, yeah.
You get $100 of Linode credits if you use the link below.
I have not yet used the VLAN stuff, but they have given me access to it, and I'm going to.
So that's in beta. That's a new feature. But basically, all of your little Linodes can be on their own VLAN, and the data doesn't count. So this is toward, Linode being, more full-featured cloud provider. They added SSL on their object storage buckets, their S3 compatible service, and they've upped the service levels, and the pricing is pretty good. They're really upping their game. We've got some projects coming up with them. Look forward to that. And use the link below, because you can sign up and get free credits and learn all this stuff. They got great tutorials. Some of them we wrote, like the one on WireGuard.
Yeah, a couple of people, in response to like the whole idea of just go build a crappy computer and learn on that, and they were like, well, I just can't do that. Well,
there's your Linode credits right there, I reckon. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do some government news and some robot news, and we will start out with a man who was guilty of money laundering. But was he really?
Guilty until proven innocent.
This is a new kind of money laundering, and was it even technically illegal when he started doing it?
Probably not.
Probably not.
The feds have arrested an alleged $336 million Bitcoin laundering kingpin. The alleged administrator of Bitcoin Fog kept the dark web service running for 10 years before the IRS caught up with him. With the IRS? Wait, it wasn't drug enforcement? It wasn't the FBI? It was the IRS.
And they did not catch him through Bitcoin. Well, they kind of did. But he used Liberty coin or something like that. It's now defunct.
Yeah.
One of the risks of getting into crypto early. And he had used an address at some point to get that, or the credit card that he bought that with or something. At some point, he actually married himself to an account, and they were able to go all the way back through those chains. Not just one blockchain, but 2 blockchains. And here we are.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, the blockchain is anonymous, and it's like, don't confuse the spray of information with the inability to process vast quantities of information, because those things are different.
And you know what occurs to me? That the next story should be the one about the IRS, but
yeah, it's fine.
We'll see it later. Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's fine.
But instead, let's talk about something more terrifying.
The IRS is setting its sights on cryptocurrency in more than one way.
More terrifying than the IRS, which takes a lot. Because this thing does horrible, horrible things to you, and we really don't know how or why.
The Pentagon investigated suspected Russian-directed energy attacks on U.S. troops. Although, this headline is a little misleading. It was a Russian helicopter that flew over the base, and it turns out it was flu. But maybe or maybe not unrelated to that, probably unrelated, is that other people have been getting sick from the directed energy weapons. And the particular base that was investigated as, oh my gosh, was it an energy weapon attack? No, it just turned out it was food poisoning or the flu or something. And but there are other people getting sick, and there is like a directed energy weapon thing going on, and some of it happened on Washington in Washington D.C.
So this will apparently give you what they describe as flu symptoms, where it basically makes you like nauseous and dizzy, and but it's immediate, which sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's a high energy microwave. I mean, Yeah.
So the same thing. Well, they suspect it's the same thing that happened in Cuba, and then this one, the one you were talking about, was in Syria, but now we got them here.
Is it a directed energy weapon, or is it just accidentally, a listening device that uses microwave transmission is accidentally turned up a little too high?
You walked between the broadcaster and the van.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Never ascribe to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity.
Or a new kind of high-frequency trading. Yeah, everybody's vomiting, but look at our gains.
That guy would have never got sick if corn futures weren't so good.
So there was another, Washington testimony thing with big tech, and it's ongoing with this whole Google lawsuit. And Google is very proactive.
This is about the App Store this time. It's like, is the App Store inherently anti-competitive, or what's going on with that?
So the Google legal team is definitely working around the clock and perhaps around the rules.
Senators asked Google about a phone call to Match on day before testimony. The headline is misleading. So Match means like the company that makes Tinder. That's the name of the company, Match.
And so Match.com. They have several things now.
When I read that headline, I was like, this is not coherent. So the testimony, the CEO of Match basically went before Congress and said, oh yeah, the App Store, it's a hot pile of garbage, but we have to deal with Google because they're like the mafia. What are we going to do? Say no? And it's weird because there was this call with Google the day before the testimony, and they were like all friendly, and so Google sort of preemptively in their testimony said, no, we're on good relations with all of our people. Take, for example, Match. And Match just absolutely threw them under the bus. And so there seemed to be some insinuation that, Google was saying, well, it's an awfully nice app that you have there. It would be terrible if something were to happen to it.
Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you for a favor. So yeah, the Google lawyers defended it with a lot of words, but they were pretty empty because how can you? Oh, I meant to cut this story. Well, let's just take a quick glance at it. We've already talked about it.
CNN Politics has the U.S. investigating possible mysterious directed energy attack near White House. This is a better, less political version of the story, and this story actually says, well, it could be Russia, it could be China. There's evidence that it's happening, in and around both Russian and Chinese things, but we still don't even really know. It could be a naturally occurring phenomena. It would be funny if it's like a satellite reflecting like, something like the space station is reflecting microwaves from space in just the wrong way or something hilarious like that.
But we've never noticed it until now.
Yeah.
You think it's SpaceX?
We need tricorders. We need handheld tricorders that just have all kinds of sensors for detecting the entire spectra. And then this problem will go away.
That would definitely solve our problems as a society.
I think so.
Tricorders. Just like when we got all of human knowledge in our pocket, everything changed.
Things got worse. Oh, no.
Well, things did get worse. And in government, things get progressively worse. But also, old things that we know were terrible ideas just stick around. And we prove over and over that they're not useful and they're invasive. And yet, these secret courts... Yeah, secret courts.
We have secret courts in America, but those are not for American citizens. That's the thing they keep telling us. Those are not for American citizens.
And yet...
The New York Times has this amazing article titled, "The Court Chides the FBI but Reapproves Warrantless Surveillance Program. Newly disclosed episodes in which analysts improperly searched for data about Americans largely came before changes at the Bureau."
Largely. Meaning not completely.
Meaning probably more than not completely.
So yeah, they're saying, hey, we see that you've behaved improperly so many times, and you should feel bad about that, but keep doing it.
You should not put your hand in the cookie jar, but we're going to restock the cookie jar. Oh, they're so delicious this time. Can you resist? Can you resist the temptation?
And we are going to reauthorize your key fob for the lid against our better judgment.
Now, don't use it unless it's a really, really extra pinky swear emergency.
And here is another example of using your better judgment. I would recommend not sharing this. As much as I like the idea of it, I don't think that good things will happen to you if you're one of the people who test this new freedom.
Yeah, the U.S. court says that the quote-unquote ghost gun plans can be posted online. Now, this is an Associated Press article, and they do actually stop short of linking it, but the picture here is misleading. This thing is insanely dangerous. It's just as likely to blow up in your face as to actually be useful, but it's sort of testing this idea. The idea is, you know, if it were really easy to fabricate your own firearms, is that a thing? And it turns out that's been legal for the better part of 2 centuries, but only just now is it sort of becoming a problem. Kind of like how flying model aircraft was fine until everybody had a drone. And
but before, you needed a drill press and some skill. Now you just need CNC because you have these files that can perfectly cut out your lower or whatever you're using. The politician that was quoted in this article said that 3D printed guns had been used in mass shootings several times already. I follow the gun news pretty closely. I've never heard of that. Have you?
That is not a true thing. That is not a true statement.
I don't think it's true at all.
No, that is literally a lie. Do you know why? Because 3D printed things can't handle more than like a couple of bullets before they explode.
Well, I think they can now, but certainly not reliable.
Well, if you have one of those $2 million, you know, like metal sintering printers, you could theoretically, you know, print an actual thing that's really good. The Mythbusters guy, Adam Savage, is that right? He 3D printed Iron Man armor that was actually like legit bulletproof. It would stop a 45, and it was just a little thin 3D printed titanium. It was incredible.
Now, the modern 3D printed lowers will get through, like, they'll do like big mag dumps out of them. So, I mean, mass shooting, how many bullets are you going to shoot? Yeah. But when you absolutely cannot have failure to feed, you don't want to 3D print your lower. The Uber, Lyft, delivery driver, gig worker, Instacart, all that business is, the laws are just a patchwork at this point. Europe is a little bit more on the side of the drivers, I guess, than we are, but that seems to be the way of the future.
The U.S. Labor Secretary supports classifying gig workers as employees. So, I don't know. This is an article about that and that position and that kind of thing. On the one hand, I don't like the idea of more regulation. Like, if you choose to just like pick up a thing and do odd jobs, okay, that's fine. But time and time again, we've seen these larger organizations systematically abuse their workers in a way that doesn't really have any recourse in our current legal frameworks. And so maybe this is not a terrible thing.
I also am not sure. Having never done that job or really delved into that world, I don't feel good about weighing in on it. But I will say this. Those of you who want to be employees for Uber and Lyft, stock up on pee bottles. Because that's where that goes. Just look at the Amazon drivers.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to be. You might get paid more, but they're going to demand a lot more from you.
If I never need to pee, the algorithm always chooses me. It's like the, what is it? The Pikachu of ride sharing.
Maybe we should, did you just pronounce Pikachu?
Yeah, I did. I don't know. Pikachu.
Maybe we need to invent an under car seat urine storage and extendable hose type of deal.
I think the Japanese probably already have something like that.
This is the story that I should have sorted after the whole, the feds attacking that one guy who was mixing coins, because when the IRS seizes coins, they auction them off, and they make quite a bit of money doing that, especially with the huge appreciation of Bitcoin. But smart people will put them on hardware wallets, and they're usually very, very hardened. So what do?
The IRS wants help hacking cryptocurrency hardware wallets. As more investors and criminals move to hardware wallets to secure their funds, the IRS is looking at new methods to access those wallets in criminal investigations.
If I call them up and I'm like, oh, I finally got in, nothing there. How do they know the difference?
They probably want the proof, I guess. It's like, I don't know.
So I go and get an identical key storage for the casing, and try to get it as close as possible. Like the paint the little blemishes onto it.
This does get into dangerous territory of like prove that you don't have something, and it's like okay.
Well, you mean like when you're driving with cash?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we're going to charge the cash criminally, and it's like, that's not even, how does that even work?
Prove you own it. Very dangerous. I think there are so many lessons we've learned about storing cryptocurrency on hard wallets. I hope people are picking up all those lessons.
I don't, I mean, my threat model isn't probably like naive, but just print it out.
Print the Bitcoin?
Yeah, print. You can print out your keys.
But you need the wallet file, right? No?
You can do it all completely in paper.
Tesla had a really good year, but as usual, the regulators are on their tail, doggedly attacking them for doing things that they shouldn't do.
Tesla accused of environmental rule violations in U.S. and Germany. The headline is Tesla. So in Germany, the deal is they're supposed to take back their batteries, and they are, but they're not filing the paperwork properly, which, Germany has got its panties in a twist about that. All right, fine. And then in California, there's something about a paint repair tent. They just set up a tent to do it, and you're not supposed to do that because of the aerosolized paint, and a lot of other vapor and stuff escapes that. And so they've supposedly fixed that. But again, regulatory paperwork, they didn't dot the I's and cross the T's, so they say. Tesla's already said they don't expect production to shut down or this to have any really material adverse impact on anything they're doing, but at the same time, it seems kind of sloppy.
Well, the whole point of the tent is because the paint was so sloppy that they were coming back in at such a rate, they had to triage with the tent.
And then we have to get a permit for the tent, too? Man, you guys are just killing us.
Meanwhile, in space, his satellites are really actually doing a good job, and people are liking them, but we need more performance. I think the interest was more than anybody guessed, and perhaps the potential was more than anybody guessed, but you got to make some changes. And again, you can't do anything in space without regulatory approval.
The FCC has greenlit SpaceX satellite plans. Now, Blue Origin had some objections, but SpaceX is going to deploy even more satellites, and they're going to put some of the satellites in a lower orbit to better cover the polar regions. And the FCC said, yeah, sounds good. SpaceX does actually have a pretty good track record for managing their Starlink satellites so far. The thing that Amazon was worried about was that would material impact their plans for deploying a global nationwide satellite network, or a global, all-encompassing satellite network. But it sounded like by the end of it, the FCC had a very minor stipulation, and so Amazon was happy with that. So I guess it's a win-win.
I bet Blue Origin was planning to launch theirs lower to fix what they saw with his, which is the beauty of coming second. So that probably ruined those plans. That's probably why they're angry. Here's a terrifying headline because they do clarify. I read the headline. I was like, well, they're not talking about all cars because all cars don't need this. But nope. Yep. Talking about all cars. Yep. Amazon drivers, we're all coming to join you.
New bill could mandate driver monitoring systems in future cars. The SAFE Act, introduced today, would prompt the DOT to investigate these systems and rule on whether they should be mandatory in vehicles. Spoiler alert, they're going to be mandatory in vehicles. Not only that, but the horrible oppressive algorithm that more and more rules our lives and chooses the words that we have to deliberately mispronounce? Well, guess what? When something happens to you, it's going to be algorithmically determined if you're at fault. And there's going to be edge cases, and it's going to get it wrong probably a significant percentage of the time, and there's going to be exactly zero recourse because no one cares.
And if you think it's tough to get, Google on the phone, think about how tough it's going to be to get Allstate on the phone when they've already decided.
Allstate will have automatically been sent your driving black box records as a result of your thing being plugged into the network.
Yeah, but I'm saying once it's settled and they tell you they're giving you nothing, there's going to be no recourse.
Even if it's not your fault, they're going to automatically get data from your car as a result of being enrolled in the insurance program, like as a requirement. And they're going to use any little thing in the box to not pay your claim.
Which they already do.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have that data, but they already try to do everything they can. Apple is, of course, the antitrust thing. Apple and Google both are just, everybody hates them because of what they're doing with their app stores. And now we have another complaint.
Apple set to get EU antitrust complaint over Spotify. This article was written yesterday. This morning, they got the complaint. Oh, man, and it's a doozy.
And it's pretty accurate, too. I mean,
yeah.
How do you defend that?
It's going to be billions and billions of dollars. The EU's going to have their budget filled for the next 5 years from this one infraction.
They'll just raise the budget. There's never enough. So it's all about, like Spotify and how they do their billing through Apple or not, and blah blah blah. It's the same old story, but the EU court will get to look at it. Over in China, it was a historic week for them because they launched. I said last week, I love the idea of nationalized space stations. I can't wait till everybody has a space station.
I'm pretty sure that that's the joke in the name of this thing.
Well, you're saying that's ironic because it's the opposite of what's going to happen. I bet there's some sort of defense system.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I would love to learn about it.
China to launch Heavenly Harmony Space Station Core Module. So that's what they named it, the Heavenly Harmony. And also, this is also China showing off of their rockets. There's a really hilarious quote in this article that doesn't mean to be hilarious, but it's basically like China has demonstrated technology on par with SpaceX and Blue Origin, but not exceeding their capabilities. And it's like the phraseology there is like, oh, they copy-pasted that technology and they've got it up and running, but they're waiting on us to improve to copy-paste that technology.
So that is the core. But there are going to be 11 total modules that are going to get Legoed together once it's up there. Then 3 people are going to live up there.
Yeah. I forgot what the series... There's a series on Netflix where it's like... I think it's Space Force. I think it's called Space Force.
Oh, yeah.
And they're always like in space doing stuff. And like China shows up with the really advanced like space robots, and they're always doing everything way ahead of and way better than whatever the American mission is. It's a recurring joke. It's really funny.
There's another show, I can't remember which service it's on, but I've been thinking about checking it out. For All Mankind, have you watched that?
Mm-mm.
It's like a space, I think it's a reimagining, like an alternate history space race type of thing. Oh, speaking of TV shows, Shadow and Bone is fantastic.
I haven't seen it.
You got to check that out. China, they're launching into space. They're doing a lot of new stuff. They've conquered Hong Kong. They're riding high. Those Uyghurs, not a problem anymore.
Were they ever a problem in the first place?
Tibet and Taiwan, well, they're on the list. But
how is a Tibetan monk a problem? I don't understand.
Well, they've got martial arts. But one thing about that is when you operate a country like that, you make a lot of enemies. And you've got to keep an eye on those enemies. And they'll do pretty much anything.
The Guardian is reporting that China has ordered companies to step up monitoring of foreigners in anti-spying push. The state security will provide quote-unquote guidance to organizations deemed to have anti-espionage responsibility. That's a weird way to say that. It's like, you have a responsibility to help us with your... I make waffles at a 7-Eleven. What am I doing?
Waffles at a 7-Eleven? Is that a thing? How diamond hard would Tim Cook's erection be if the U.S. government called him up and said, we're going to need you to spy more?
We're going to pay for it and we're going to make it law. And then he'd be like, all right, sounds good.
He's like, oh, wait, you guys heard about Operation Draco? I thought we kept that quiet. But yeah, we'll have that up Tuesday.
That's basically, it's not mentioned here either, but things are getting really tense in Taiwan because, the foreign minister there was something about like, if you've got job listings that don't hire Chinese nationals, and it's like, things are getting real dicey here.
And it's so dicey that even when Chinese nationals do something, if it's not something that the Communist Party cares for, it must be memory hold.
China Censors Nomadland director Chloé Zhao's Oscar win. Hopefully I got that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. So this is weird. Okay, like she won, but I guess it must be that a woman director must not, like, we must make sure that the population doesn't see an empowered woman.
Western movie.
But okay,
she's making media for the enemy.
Oh,
yeah. So she's been memory hold. They interviewed one anchor at a news station, and they're like, why are you not talking about this? She's Chinese. This is the first time a Chinese national has ever won this award, and one of the few times a woman has won it. What are you doing? And she was like, what I'm told.
Congratulations on your accomplishment. Never return home.
And start using Signal for your family. Well, if you can find them.
That would be a weird. I wonder, like, there should be, like, we, you know, in the U.S., if we're going to do things like this, we need a hotline at the embassy where you can call them and be like, I just won the Oscar. I need you to extract my family. And no questions asked. There would be a SEAL team, you know, deployed within 6 hours, and her family would be safe.
I don't want my tax dollars going to that.
I think that there are many, many things that I would put toward my tax dollars that ahead of what they actually go to now.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, that's always true, no matter what it is. Turkey, we have certainly a bit of a frenemy relationship with Turkey, you could say. Sometimes it gets outright hostile. And they, like China, don't like a lot of our Western culture bleeding in, which is why this happened.
A second Bitcoin exchange collapses in Turkey amid crackdown on cryptocurrencies. So the owner of this one just fled the country. He's gone.
He took billions with him.
Oops.
But they will track that down. The blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, you don't escape it.
No.
The IRS can find you.
Would be crazy if the IRS turned into bounty hunters for other countries. Like they pad their income by, the president of Turkey calls the IRS up and is like, okay, we'll give you $5 million if you hunt this guy down. It's like, oh, we found him in Brazil.
But they're already hunting American nationals in those countries.
Yeah,
that would be very easy for them to do.
Yeah, it would be very cost effective, and they would actually earn a lot of money doing that.
We just need 1%. We'll work commission.
Congress needs to okay that, and then operate.
Can you imagine the international outrage when they started doing that in like Finland or something?
We sent in a black ops team. Were they a terrorist? No, they were a tax dodger.
They were a Bitcoin holder. And speaking of Bitcoin, it's always been a mystery of who actually invented it. The white paper came out. There was a fake name, and we've always been guessing who it is. There's one man who claims he is it and that he has proof.
But he keeps fumbling the proof.
Never presented the proof. And now, maybe finally, it'll be put to rest. Is he or is he not?
A new lawsuit could weigh in on who's the real inventor of Bitcoin and why its creation is still shrouded in mystery. This lawsuit is almost pointless. There's the original Bitcoin paper is hosted on bitcoin.org, and Craig Wright would like to take it down, which is weird. Like, why is this the hill that you would die on?
Whoever wants their white paper taken down.
I mean, with over $50 billion in why would you care?
Yeah. Well, maybe he sold too early.
Well, those have never moved, though. I mean, it's a blockchain. We can see.
Oh, okay. So the original wallet, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing has ever really happened with them.
Also, if like anything you gained, this is what you're going for, but anything you could gain from winning this lawsuit, you could gain 100 times over by selling 10%.
Or not even 10%. 1% would probably do it.
I mean, the fame you could get, the power you could get.
This isn't the first time he tried to do this. The last time he tried to do this, he uploaded a PGP key that the date time apparently had been forged. So it was like, oh, look, this key was made at the right time, but it was actually created with an algorithm that didn't exist at that time. Oops.
I think at this point, it's one of those things where he started telling a lie, and he's so deep in it now, he can't extract himself.
Yeah.
So you just have to it's like you're heading toward the waterfall on the river, but you can't swim away. So that'll be fun to watch.
And there's no barrel.
No, it's an inner tube. The EU has introduced some other rules. This one is more about social media, but I guess just the web in general, and it has to do with stuff they don't like.
EU adopts a 1-hour takedown for terrorist content. Basically, when the EU hits the big red button, you've got an hour. Otherwise, they're coming for you.
Or you have to prove to them that you could not realistically do it in that hour. Do you think I was asleep counts?
I think if you're Facebook or Twitter, you could probably afford the 24/7 staffing, but yeah, if we get the on the Level 1 forum, it's like you got to take this down in an hour. It's like I'm just going to turn the servers off.
I don't think that they
don't care.
Mandated a minimum income or anything like that. It affects everybody. I think. So yeah, unfortunate. And France also has a problem with free speech, which they call extremism. But as we've learned from Facebook, it's very, very difficult, and it's actually damaging to the human psyche to deal with all that stuff, to review it, to see if it's actually bad, to get rid of it. It's a real problem. And France is planning to try something that Facebook already failed at, which I don't think will work for them.
France planning to allow the use of algorithms to detect extremism online. What could possibly go wrong? You know what the first thing it's going to detect is? The episode of I Love Lucy where she goes to the French restaurant and has oysters, and it's like oysters are definitely a first time experience for Lucy, and she asks for ketchup, and the chef thinks something has gone horribly wrong with the oysters and is like freaking out in French. It's going to think that's extremism.
I guess that is still airing somewhere.
Only in my head, over and over and over again.
I don't know if this counts for TV, though. I think it's for the internet.
That'll be it's somewhere on the internet.
You think anybody,
somewhere.
is there like a terrorist public access channel somewhere?
Twitter.
No, but I mean, it has to be on the TV networks.
Uh,
So, that free time thing. Do they still do that?
I don't think so. Man, that was one of the best parts of growing up somewhere rural, is all those people just making their own TV shows with the camcorder. Those were amazing.
Like Cutlery Corner, the guy that sold knives. I mean, that was national, but that was so fantastic. Be dialing. Self-driving cars, they don't exist. We don't have them. We have a poor approximation of them, but that doesn't stop laws from being created as if we do have them.
Self-driving cars to be allowed on UK roads this year. Woo! It's coming to you.
So
Exciting times.
Right now, this is just lane assist, but they make the mistake that Tesla made that is causing so many problems. Why do you call this self-driving?
It's not exactly self-driving.
It's not even remotely self-driving.
It's driver assist at best.
And that's what you should call it. No, you should call it lane assist, because that's what it is.
Have you noticed that I didn't realize this was happening, but some of the driver assist features now will also automatically turn on your turn signal. It's like, oh, you're not using your turn signal. You're a horrible person. Let me just handle that for you.
But it's going to get it wrong.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then that's something we used to do in high school, was just use the wrong signal and watch the people behind it. Man, that was so stupid. Shouldn't have done that. And they shouldn't do this. And that is the start of the robot section, by the way. And continuing on in the robot section, not quite as impressive as AlphaGo, this technology, but it did solve something that has never been solved with AI before.
An AI finally won an elite crossword tournament, and its name is Dr. Phil, F-I-L-L.
That's great.
That is sort of great. So it was a combination word search algorithm and AI that had read Wikipedia and a bunch of other sources like that to try to figure out clues.
It's an AI that knows trivia. What could be more annoying than that? And it did make 2 mistakes, got words wrong in 2 cases, but it was so much faster than the closest human competitor, it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
It won hands down. Also, the first time they didn't do this one in person, and I imagine a lot of people were cheating. Don't you?
Yeah, probably.
What a sad thing. I mean, you think it's sad to cheat at that, but then you realize that people cheat at like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Which is even sadder. Girl Scout cookies. Man, I haven't had Girl Scout cookies in a long time.
Yeah, me either. Haven't even seen Girl Scouts. This story is the story where I stopped reading and I looked up and I was like, this is it. This is how I know I'm living in the future.
I think, my policy of avoiding children at all costs hurts me in this one example.
Well, now you don't have to worry about it.
That's right. I never have to be around children at all, and I can still enjoy those peanut butter ones. Oh my God.
Girl Scout cookies take flight in Virginia with drone deliveries. So they've got a drone there, and it's like, oh, you ordered some cookies? All right, we'll get them there by drone because in person not great.
So Virginia is the place where they've already cleared all these regulations. I think UPS is doing their testing there. Probably everybody is. So the laws actually allow this kind of thing.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we know we're living in the future. You can now get, your Thin Mints or whatever delivered by drone.
How long until we start the pipeline where you go straight from the Girl Scouts into the Reaper drone program?
I was thinking about the robots are replacing the supply chain at every stage.
And when you have robots in your home, you must learn to live with them. You must learn their quirks, because otherwise you will be terrified.
It's another story full of robo prejudice right here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think this vacuum has a lawsuit.
Someone called the cops on their own smart vacuum. This family was woke up by horrible crashing thud sounds. The police came with a battering ram, burst the door open, and they found the smart vacuum at the bottom of the stairs. The sound was the sound of it tumbling down the stairs.
And once it got to the bottom of the stairs, like just banging into stuff, trying to navigate away from a tiny. I got the idea it was one of those little landings at the bottom of the stairs. Then it turned a corner.
Oh yeah.
And they just couldn't get out. Yeah. So
how did I end up here? I'm taking a tumble.
She claimed that her son he was supposed to vacuum, but instead of vacuuming, he just set that thing up, maybe on a timer or something. But it happened at 1 a.m.
He probably meant 1 p.m. and didn't understand that was 13 o'clock.
He fumbled everything about this.
Well, they're going to need a new front door. That's going to be like $600 plus.
Yeah, you just have to replace the
little side thing. But then it's never the same, and it never shuts right.
Also, pro-libertarian tip, you can buy a kit that will harden your doors against kicks. That's really cheap and easy to install.
Oh, is that the one where it's got the levers that go inside the door, so when you lock it, it puts pins in the top and bottom? Those are cool.
No, well, you can go that far, but this one just reinforces the part where the latch is.
I saw one where you just it cuts a slot out of the side of the door, and then there's a bar that goes in like where the deadbolt goes, and it makes the whole thing sort of mate together. So like when you deadbolt it, the pins go in the top and the bottom, and then where the regular deadbolt is, and that part of your door will no longer fail. It'll be the hinges that fail.
Right. Well, there's a lot of different versions of that, but they're all good enough for a police kick. Now, when they bring out the battering ram, the hinges will fail.
Yeah.
So, but how much time does that give you to run?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Or, hit the safe room panic button. Doesn't save you from the cops, unfortunately. And finally, I don't think any robot will ever take Flippy's star power. And this one doesn't, but it is impressive, and it does work in the same industry.
Robot that can cook a paella, is that how you say that? Is
Yes.
causing quite a stir in Spain. Stir in Spain, because wok and paella. They really needed a video for this. And that I haven't had lunch yet today, and now all I can think about is paella. I'm like,
I've never had it.
Oh, there's a food truck here that has those, and it's really good.
We should try to sell them one of these robots.
That's the only reason I knew how to pronounce that.
So apparently that is a huge...
It's probably still wrong.
It's like no, I think that's right. I think it's a real staple in Spain, apparently, and a lot of people are outraged just because there's a robot doing it.
But it's doing it so well and so repeatedly.
But you do have to load all the stuff in there.
Or it can reach it, yeah.
And then it does it. It stirs it and monitors it. And stuff like that.
The company talked about how it could also do like croissants and pizzas if you give it the oven attachment, and burgers if you gave it the grill attachment. So apparently they've got everything figured out, which is awesome. I mean, I for one welcome our automated food truck overlords.
How cool is it be if you're going to combo the driverless automation truck with this? So you order food, and the food is being cooked as it drives to you. And
Yeah.
it's piping hot when you get it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
like-
dream.
I would love nothing more than to get a text message from Bert, the robot, and it's like, hey, I've got your lunch ready. It's like, oh, thank you, Bert.
Please select the temperature you would like your soup to be when I serve it to you. Like, that's the beauty that we're going to have sometime in our life.
Can I get this in my house? I mean, honestly, I would kind of like to have, like, maybe we could combine Blue Apron with, like, the robot services. And it's like a payment plan kind of a thing. It's like, if I can have a robot that cooks elaborate and healthy meals, that would be amazing.
You're going to end up paying like $6 for a carrot when you do it that way.
That's Jeff Bezos' business model.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. All right, what do we got for tomorrow?
Business, and I don't remember whatever the smallest other section is.
There's a couple business stories that have tie-ins for these government stories too, which are pretty interesting. So it's interesting. We got a lot of nonsense this week too.
So you can't miss it.
Yeah, no Krista this week though.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention. She's fine. She just had some family stuff to deal with.
We lost Krista, but we gained Linode. So be sure to check out that Linode link.
We'll see you tomorrow.